So you see a huge government spending announcement, one that promises to completely transform education in the state of Meghalaya. But what if that massive headline number is hiding the real story? Let's get into it.
Okay, let's just start with this number. 75%. I mean, wow, that's a huge figure, right? It's the kind of number that promises radical, game-changing growth. And frankly, it's a figure designed to do one thing: get your attention.
And that's exactly what this is. It's the announced increase in Meghalaya's education budget. It was rolled out as one of the single biggest investments in the state's future. But a number this big, well, it also raises an equally big question.
Because here's the thing. Despite this massive budget, you still hear these persistent reports of problems on the ground, like teachers not getting paid on time. So it really makes you wonder, where's all of that money actually going?
It all kicked off with this major announcement from the chief minister, painting a picture of a government that was really championing education.
So here are the raw numbers. The budget supposedly leaped from 2,000 crore rupees, which by the way is about $240 million US, all the way up to 3,500 crore. That's a pretty staggering increase of 1,500 crore.
And the promise that came with this money was just as big. The government assured everyone that this funding would create a visible impact. Now, I want you to hold on to that phrase, visible impact, because it's going to become really, really important.
So this all leads us to the big question, right? Is this massive headline number a true picture of new investment, or is there something else going on beneath the surface? We've got to look a little closer.
All right, so let's pop the hood on this thing. Let's actually follow the money and try to decode that big number to see what it's really made of.
Now, to do that, we first have to understand this key term, committed expenditure. The easiest way to think about this is like the government's fixed costs. We're talking salaries, pensions, mandatory yearly allowance increases. These are the bills that the government is already on the hook for and simply has to pay, and they go up every year, automatically.
And here's the reality check. The vast majority of that 3,500 crore budget is immediately eaten up by that committed expenditure. That slice that's left over for actual new investment, building new schools, funding labs, training teachers, it's pretty tiny in comparison.
Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine you get a standard cost of living raise at your job. So yes, technically your total household income has gone up, but you're not using that money to build a new room on your house, right? No. That extra cash is just covering the fact that gas and groceries cost more this year. Your budget got bigger, but your ability to do new things didn't really change. It's the exact same idea.
So this is the really crucial difference. The government is presenting the entire inflated budget as this huge new investment. But critics, well, they might call this a kind of accounting trick, because the actual money available for real, genuine change is just a fraction of that big headline number. So, if the actual new investment is pretty small, can we still find that visible impact the government promised? Let's go take a look.
And look, to be fair, the government did provide some specific examples. The chief minister pointed to projects like the 20 lakh rupee funding for the Nartiang Presbyterian School as proof that the money is making a difference on the ground.
But here's the thing. One school getting an upgrade, while that's great for them, it doesn't really prove the whole system is being transformed. So how do we measure the health of the entire education system? What should we actually be looking for?
Real impact? Well, it shows up in the data. Our student-teacher ratio is getting better. Are fewer kids dropping out of school? And maybe the most important question of all, are the learning outcomes, the actual test scores, improving? Because without seeing these key numbers move, visible impact is just a slogan.
And this brings us to our final section, and really to the fundamental question that's at the very core of this whole discussion.
We're right back to that paradox we started with. On one hand, you have a record-breaking budget, but on the other, you have these ongoing reports of really basic problems, like unpaid teachers and schools that don't even have proper facilities. The two just don't seem to add up. So when you put all of these pieces together, the inflated budget number, the tiny amount of new investment, and the lack of system-wide data, it all pushes us toward one final critical question.
With 3,500 crore rupees in the budget, is the core problem really a lack of money? Or is it about how that money is being managed, how it's allocated, and how it's being spent? After breaking down all the numbers, that is the real question.